revisiting 5 fragrances from the brand of French Avenue that I've previously reviewed on my channel. Have they changed with time? Have I changed my opinion on them? Well, let's find out. But first of all, you know that I'm George, the nice merry gentleman, and it's time for your daily dose of some fragrance content. The 5 fragrances that I'm going to revisit in today's video, both all of them come from the brand of French Avenue, and they're called Sultan the Founder, Azzure Aoud, Liquid Brun, Carnal Desire, and Royal Taboo. And I'm going to start with Sultan the Founder. Now this fragrance, of course, is a clone of Giza's Imperial Valley. It's one of the few clones of Imperial Valley that I have in my collection. I've said this many times before, but I really like the original scent. It's a very unique Middle Eastern mix of a lot of interesting notes like Azzure Aoud, leather, some sweetness, some ambery sweetness, some fruity sweetness, a bit of freshness. It's a very, very unique scent profile that if you have never tried that, I really urge you to try, at least if not the original, one of the good clones of Imperial Valley. Now, Sultan the Founder remains not my most favorite, remains to be not my most favorite clone of Imperial Valley, although it's a good quality scent that probably this, out of all clones that I have in my collection, this is the one that feels the most masculine, because in my opinion this has the most emphasis on the Azzure Aoud note compared to the other ones that I have in my collection. Let's talk about how this fragrance has changed with time. Well, like many other Middle Eastern fragrances, this one with time has settled a little bit, has become a little bit smoother compared to when I first got it. When I first got this one, the Azzure Aoud note used to be a little bit on the harsher side, slightly animalic, and to this day this remains a little bit animalic, which is to be expected from this scent profile, but definitely this has smoothened out compared to when I first got it. So, you know, it has improved a little bit with maceration and with time, with aging. Since I've had this in my collection, I've had it for close to half a year now at this point. One area where this didn't improve, unfortunately, though, is the performance. Now, it's not a weak fragrance. I've been constantly getting over 8 hours of performance out of it, but I was expecting a little bit better performance, because this is the most expensive clone that I have in my collection, Imperial Valley clone that I have in my collection, and also because this has the strongest Azzure Aoud note in the opening. I was just expecting this one to be a better performer than it turned out to be, and unfortunately with time the performance hasn't improved that much. The next one that I'm going to briefly talk about, of course, is Azzure Aoud. This one is a clone of Oud Maracuja from Maison Crivelli, and to be honest, here my opinion hasn't changed that much since I first got it, because this has been a love from first sniff for me personally, and to this day this remains really one of my favorite scents from the brand of French Avenue. In my opinion, this smells very similar to Oud Maracuja. Of course, it's not as good, it's not as smooth as the original, the quality is not exactly the same, but it's to be expected, because this can be bought for around about 40 to 50 euros or 50 to 60 dollars, while the original one, and that's for a 100 milliliter bottle size, while the original one comes only in a 50 milliliter bottle. I think they've just recently launched 100 milliliter bottles from the original one, but the widely available you know, bottle size is 50 milliliters, and it costs over 200 euros here in Europe, over $250 in the US. So keep in mind that there's a huge price difference. Still though, for the money that you have to pay for Azzure Aoud, I think French Avenue in this case have done a great job with the scent profile. It hasn't changed much, maybe with time and maceration. The leather note has become a little bit more pronounced, and the Azzure Aoud note is slightly stronger than it first was when I first got this one. And also the performance has improved maybe just a little bit, but keep in mind that this was a strong scent, beastly performing scent since the first day that I got it. So not much has changed with this one. My opinion has not changed. This is still a love for me personally, and I do believe that from what I've tried, this is the closest thing that you can get to Oud Maracuja right now. The next one that I'm going to talk about will be Liquid Brun from French Avenue, and this is one of those cases where, you know, my opinion has changed a lot since the first time that I got it, later on when I did my full review, and now, like what, 5-6 months later. This has become a love for me. Initially, when I first got Liquid Brun, I wasn't really that impressed by the scent profile, but I think it was because it was a brand new bottle that just needed time. At first it was very spicy, felt quite harsh, there wasn't much sweetness, just didn't feel right the first time I tried it. But with time this has evolved bit by bit into becoming something really nice, something that smells very similar to the original one. It's not exactly a one-to-one clone. In my opinion, this has a slightly stronger cinnamon note compared to the original one, but nowadays it has a lot more pronounced sweetness, a lot more pronounced vanillic sweetness. The Ambroxan doesn't feel as harsh as it once felt when I first got this one, and now this smells very similar to to Altair, which is, of course, this is cloning, and it's become one of my most used fall time and winter time scents in my collection. And again, I've changed my opinion a lot into the positive side. I think this is one of the best selling fragrance world and French Avenue fragrances at the moment, one of the best selling clone fragrances at the moment, and for a very good reason. I definitely think that more people should try this one, because it definitely works. It performs really nicely. After some time it started to perform almost beastly, projects even better than the original fragrance in my experience, and all that again for an affordable price. That's just like a fraction of the price of the original one. So if you have been living under a rock, if you have never tried Liquid Brun so far, I urge you to try this one, because this is great. And I've left Carnal Desire and Roll Taboo for talking about them for last, because I'm going to be spending a little bit more time about these two. Now, originally when I first tried these two about 2 months ago and I did my first impressions, my video maybe sounded a little bit harsh for a lot of people out there, because I was very critical of the scents. When it comes to Royal Taboo, I wasn't really a huge fan of the scent, and when it comes to Carnal Desire, I wasn't really a huge fan of the performance. Now, about a month later, I did my full review, where I told you that both fragrances have definitely improved a little bit, but still I wasn't getting like superb performance out of Carnal Desire, and Royal Taboo was still feeling a little bit more on the harsher side. Well, fast forward another month. I've had them for about 2 months. And I'm going to tell you how they have changed in my opinion. Let's start with Roll Taboo. As I said in my original review and in my first impressions video, this felt a little bit too spicy for my personal taste. It felt a little bit too dry. I felt that the spiciness was a little bit overdone. Well, about 2 months later, I think that this fragrance has improved quite a bit, especially compared to my first impressions. Nowadays, this doesn't feel as spicy as it once was. Definitely doesn't feel as harsh as it once was, which is a good thing. Nowadays, this has lost a little bit of its freshness in the opening. When I first got this one, the first few minutes, this really reminded me of Naxos from Xerjoff. Nowadays, it doesn't remind me that much of Naxos actually, but that's a good thing, because again, it's lost a bit of its freshness, but definitely also lost a bit of its spiciness, a bit of its dryness that it had when I first got this one. 2 months down the road, this has become a little bit smoother, a little bit less spicy, less peppery, and definitely more sweetness has started to come out of it. Still, I'm not the biggest fan of this one, although I'm a huge fan of tobacco-based scents. I think that they could have done a little bit better with Royal Taboo. They should have added a little bit more sweetness, at least to make it more enjoyable for me personally. But definitely Royal Taboo has improved when it comes to the scent profile, and definitely smells smoother than it once did. Also, it's a little bit better performing than it once was. This was a good performer out of the box, so it's getting better and better, but I had to wait 2 months for this to happen. And now let's move on to Carnal Desire. Maybe you are wondering why I'm having 2 bottles. When I did my full review of the 2 fragrances from Aromatics and French Avenue, from Nip and French Avenue, I told you that I originally bought 1 bottle a piece with my own money, and later on Nip through French Avenue and Fragrance World sent me 2 additional bottles for review, so I'm keeping them. But I have the 2 bottles because I want to show you something. It has to do with quality control. I'm going to go up and close now, just so I can show you better what I mean. This is the original bottle of Carnal Desire that I bought with my own money. And I showed you in my full review that about a few weeks after I got the fragrance and started using it, as you can see, it started to develop a bit of a leakage around the color of the atomizer, something that firstly I didn't do, but it took a few weeks for the leakage to start to appear. Now it's not bad, but definitely it's not great to see such a quality control problem, in my opinion, something that has to be rectified. But this is nothing compared to the other bottle that I'm going to show you in a second. This is the second bottle. This is the one bottle that I received from Fragrance World directly. As you can see, this one has developed even more of a leakage, even more serious leakage. As you can see, this spot here around about this stain has started to appear around the bottle. And also keep in mind that both bottles, they were never thrown around or anything like that. They were just sitting in their boxes on my shelves. So I don't know why this leakage has appeared. I've seen more and more, reviews and people coming out and saying that they've had the same problem. As you can see on the back, almost half the bottle is stained from the leakage. So yeah, these are the bad news when it comes to Carnal Desire. Both bottles of Carnal Desire, for some reason quality control is not that good with French Avenue, and both bottles have started to leak. Interestingly enough, I don't have the same problem with neither of my bottles of Royal Taboo. Only the ones from from Carnal Desire actually do these things. Keep that in mind. Again, I do think that Fragrance World and especially French Avenue, they have to work on their quality control a lot to make up for this leakage that has appeared on both bottles. Now, those fragrances, they're not overly expensive, but still at the end of the day you have to pay 50-60 euros here in Europe, $50-60 in the US, and if you get a leaking bottle, it's not a good experience at all. Now, those are the bad news. Let's talk about the good news. The good news for Carnal Desire is the fact that this has definitely improved when it comes to performance. Now, I liked the scent straight out of the box. It's a really interesting mix. It's not a straight up cologne, but it smells something similar to, let's say, Oud Maracuya. You get some rose, you get some Agar Oud, you get some leather, you get some fruity sweetness. And also the scent has improved a little bit, but again, I think it was good from the beginning. But definitely 2 months down the road, this has started to behave like a more serious fragrance, a better performing fragrance. Still not a beast, but definitely it's getting into the strong territory. But again, I had to wait about 2 months in order to get that performance out of it. Something that's a bit of a shame, and I'm going to probably talk about these things in a future video where I'm going to rant a little bit about the way that Middle Eastern brands present their fragrances. But yeah, both Royal Taboo and Carnal Desire have improved when it comes to the scent and have improved when it comes to their performance, but I had to wait for over 2 months. So guys, in today's video I revisited 5 fragrances from the brand of French Avenue that I've previously reviewed on my channel, and I also gave you my updated thoughts on all 5 of them. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a like, and I'm also interested to hear your opinion about any of those 5 fragrances that I mentioned in today's video. Do you own them? What has been your experience with them? Do you like them or not? Please use the comments down below this video to let me know. And until my next video, stay safe and bye bye.